All right, you're live.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock. Good morning, everyone. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good morning, everyone. First thing we have is the approval of the agenda. There's been this is the corrected agenda that was sent out. Is there a motion to that effect?
No changes to the agenda or additions. I will make the motion for the agenda.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion carried. Next is the approval of the minutes for February, or not February, March 22nd. I will make that motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, motion carried. Okay, Jason, an update on the Essex project.
Hi there. Thanks, everybody, and we appreciate having some time here to give you this update. I'll just go ahead and by the way, I'm in my truck. I'm about to do some training for IK and Manning schools after the meeting here, after we get done, because they've bought radios to go on system, and so we're going to be training their bus drivers later this morning. But I'll go ahead and throw it to Dave Watilko, and he can give you an update on where Motorola's side of the project stands currently.
Hi, good morning. One of the things we wanted to present on, we completed the week of the 22nd, the coverage testing, and we do have a presentation we'd like to show you. And I'm going to have to apologize because I don't know how to share my screen through Zoom. So if somebody could walk me through how to do that, I'd be happy to share a presentation.
I got you here. Let me give you permissions to share your screen. Hold on 1 second here, Dave.
All right, thanks, sir. While Dalton's getting that set up, also on the call is Julian Duran. Julian is our project engineer, and it was really Julian's effort to lead the coverage acceptance test plan. So Julian will be assisting me with the presentation.
Okay, Dave, you should have a permission at your bottom of your screen that says share screen now.
I do. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
All right. You should be seeing a Carroll County coverage accepting testing results screen. Is everybody seeing that screen?
Yes.
All right. Excellent.
I see a cornfield.
Yep.
Kind of premature, isn't it?
Yeah, that was not what we saw while coverage testing.
And a little cliche too, Dave.
Yeah, well, Okay, testing procedures. Testing, like I said, was conducted the week of March 22nd to March 25th. It was conducted by both representatives of Carroll County and Motorola Solutions and Motorola Solutions subcontractor SBP Consulting. Testing consisted of a simulated portable on-street and simulated portable in-building and what we call an outbound bit error rate testing. So we had laptops in the vehicles that would actually measure the signal strength and the bit error rate to simulate coverage testing on portable in street and portable in building. In addition to testing within the service area guaranteed test area within the county, we also tested the fire district regions outside of the county borders for informational purposes. We tested with 3 field test teams. Originally, we were going to be testing with 2 teams. Our engineer smartly, Julian, ordered a third test kit, which was really just to have a backup in case something would go wrong with the other 2 kits. But we took the opportunity to use that third test kit, outfit a third test team to address the informational only grids. So Julian and I drove those in the fire districts, which then quite honestly got completed the testing within 4 days versus the week and a half, which was originally planned. The 2 field test teams for within the county consisted of 1 Motorola or SBC consulting representative and 1 county representative using county vehicles. The county representative drove the vehicle, and the Motorola consulting representative, used the Voyager test kit and then navigated the driver to each tile to test the area. The test areas were all broken up by half-mile grids throughout the county, and we navigated to each. And then the third test team consisted of 2 Motorola representatives, myself and Julian, and same plan, myself driving, Julian running the test kit and navigating. And like I said, that was all the fire districts outside the county. So this is a lesson learned slide. The lesson learned was don't go on Class B minimum use roads after 2 days of heavy rain. So this was mine and Julian's error. You can see we entered way back here. We made it a half mile before getting stuck, and a very nice towing company with a pickup and a tow strap got us back out of there. So
I'd like to point out that was not a Carroll County road.
that's true statement. That was outside of county, because obviously within the county the roads would not be this bad.
I was just gonna ask who we send the bill to for the maintenance of that.
I already got hit with a pretty good bill from the towing company, so I'm hoping you guys will let me pass on that. All right, so the test tiles. So everything is like I said, broken out into half-mile grids. Julian, I'm going to ask you to explain because I don't want to misspeak here. So if you wouldn't mind covering this slide.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. You can see here, these are the areas that we tested throughout the county and in the information only areas. The county was divided in north and south so that each test team would cover equal amounts of test tiles without overlapping each other. And Dave and I, we cover the fire districts, which are shown here in purple. And then in red, you can see the 12 dB areas. These are the in-building zones that we tested for simulated in-building coverage. So that would be the city of Manning, Coon Rapids, and Carroll.
Any questions on that slide?
You said you did in-building, I assume you were inside schools, nursing homes, those kind of things?
Well, the testing in building is simulated. So what we do is on the test kit, we introduce attenuation. So we diminish the signal strength to simulate that we are inside of a building. In this particular case, with the attenuation was 12 dB, which is equivalent to a medium-sized building, kind of like a house, a commercial building, something of that sort.
Okay, thank you.
So the shaded area outside the county, is that coverage or is that fire districts?
Correct. Those are for the fire districts areas that are outside of the county.
And those were boundaries that I obtained from Sarah with GIS. So we got the shape file from her of what we have recorded in GIS as the fire district boundaries, and provided that to Motorola.
Ray here, if I can jump in on this conversation, just for clarification purposes. The area within the county borders, the green, the tan, and the red, were the included in Motorola's 95% coverage guarantee. But what Jason had requested and what Dave had talked about is in those purple shaded areas, they did coverage testing there as well, even though it wasn't necessarily part of the 95% coverage guarantee. So Motorola was kind enough to include that extra testing and provided the results just so that the county would know what the coverage looks like in those areas.
Thank you, Ray. Any other questions there?
Do you do any coverage outside of that, the purple shaded areas that, say like 2 miles out of the county to see if there's coverage outside the county? Because there's going to be times when, you know, and I'm just thinking the road there, you know, there's times when the fire district does go out in that area. Just curious. Have you done any testing that way?
Yeah, I mean, strictly, yeah, we tested all of the areas that you see on this map, and all of the areas that were identified in the county for the fire districts. We did not do any testing beyond what you see on this map.
Ray here again, to take that a step further. Typically, the Motorola coverage testing that's done is only within the county borders. And again, based on Jason's request, they did all the testing outside the county shown for the fire districts. To go beyond that is a little bit of a, I don't want to say slippery slope, because you know, yes, you could probably define it as 2 miles, but frankly, Dave's picture of the truck stuck in the mud was just one example. There was quite a few other similar situations. In fact, what you'll see as we go forward here, there were some tiles that had to be marked inaccessible. And part of the purpose of using the county vehicles inside the county was because you have to drive in sometimes into people's driveways and in their farm fields and so forth to try and, as we call it, get the grid. In spite of the best planning efforts ahead of time on trying to map out these grids and make sure that there's roads to get to them, there's a lot of it you can't. Well, you know, if you look at the stuff outside the county that, well, it was included, which normally wouldn't be, but it was, again, because of Jason's persistence and Motorola's cooperation. You know, they've done quite a bit here, and there's really no question that there's plenty of coverage in those other areas outside the county. In fact, at the bottom of this slide in the text, there's an important point here. All of this coverage testing was done using only the 4 tower sites in Carroll County, as noted here. Obviously, there's an ISIC site to the west in Denison. You know, there's a site. Well, there's one further north. It's a little ways north, but there's other sites that provide coverage outside of Carroll County. Most of the coverage is probably going to come from the tower sites in Carroll County that provide signal outside of it. So there's no question that there's going to be coverage in those we'll call it mutual aid areas that are outside of the fire district borders, I guess. So I don't know, just another perspective on that.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Julian, would you like to address this slide?
Sure. So here are the results of the testing we conducted. So in green is everything that passed our threshold, and in red is everything that initially failed the bit error rate test. So we're looking for a 2%, 2.4% bit error rate. Anything above that, the computer marks as a failure. Anything below is a pass. So out of the 2,525 tiles that were tested in total, only 8 failed, which brings up the total to 99.37%. So now this is for the including the information only area, but regardless of everything we tested, 99% pass. Now we were contractually committed to guarantee 95% service area reliability for Carroll County. We obviously far exceeded that at 99%. And in another slide, I think the county went and did audio quality tests for these areas that failed. So that we went out there and actually did a "can you hear me now" type of test to actually confirm what the computer marks as a failure. Does it really fail? The computer has a very strict threshold of what is a failure, right? But in the real world, you can still able to hear conversation through the radio typically. So that's what we went out and did. We went out to these 8 tiles and did what we call a subjective audio quality test. So that was conducted and that also passed. So all those 8 tiles were successful for the audio quality test.
Ray here, if I can jump in and make one more point. You'll notice the number of tiles that are white, and those are tiles that had to be marked inaccessible because there was no way to get to them.
Thanks, Ray. Any questions there? Right, so that's the length and breadth of the customer acceptance test plan presentation. So yeah, I mean, the long and short is, we did well exceed the 95% at 99.64%. We had 8 tiles that failed, but those were able to be tested via just basically a "can you hear me now" test via the radio in each of those grids, and all 8 of those grids passed. So, which then brings contractually to 100%.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
And I'll just add here, this is all very good news. This is exactly what we want to see. We would expect that, in some situations, there are going to be areas in the county that are going to have still struggle slightly with portable on-street coverage, but by and large here, responders will be able to go just about anywhere in the county and be able to count on their portable radio. And through a little bit of training and a little bit of experimentation, they'll very quickly know when they get into a situation where their radio isn't properly working. And there's also some direct radio to radio channels that are available in 700 that are digital that they will use for some on-scene communications. So they're not relying on the system when kind of they're in line of sight situations, or firefighters in an air pack inside of a building, that sort of thing. So there's multiple levels here, multiple layers to the communications plans that go along with a system like this that'll be in place. So very pleased from our end as far as I'm concerned.
The only thing I can say about this whole testing procedure, I think it went very well, but I did get a few phone calls about people driving in their yards. They were kind of questioning if it was someone just searching things out or whatever. And I had to verify them that we were doing testing. The only thing, Jason, I'd say we probably should have maybe put something on a radio announcement that we were out testing, so people been aware of it, so they wouldn't have been questioning it. But I
Sure.
Most people, once I told them, they were satisfied with that. But
Yep, that's why one of the reasons why we try to use marked patrol vehicles, and we kind of met some people, that were, they'd come out of their house or something. We just explained to them what they were doing. I think you're right. We should have probably made a little public announcement about it in hindsight. So that was a little bit of a miss. I also want to add, I appreciate, the sheriff, it's his department that loaned us the vehicles and some personnel to do the testing. I drove one vehicle for the duration of the testing, and then he assigned a deputy to do the testing the rest of the times. And we appreciate their help. Wasn't an exciting assignment by any means. Gets pretty old pretty fast, but we appreciate that assistance as well.
any other questions for these gentlemen? So Jason, now you're down to basically just doing all the training and stuff like that?
Correct. So, and we'll let Ray give an update too about the little bit of remaining civil work that we're working on. But to answer your question, yes, we are working with First Wireless to get the radios programmed satisfactorily. So we're going through a process where they program the radio, and then I kind of check it over for the look and the feel, and looking for errors and that sort of thing. We're going through that process. They're struggling a little bit with some staffing, got some people out sick, and family emergencies and stuff like that. So we're kind of competing for time for the tech that does the radio programming for them. But we're working through that process. We also did the train the trainer class with On Target a couple of weeks ago. I think we ended up with 8 or 10, I can't remember the exact number, of responders that were able to attend that. And they were from all public safety disciplines, and they'll be assisting us with training. But it's really hinging on getting the radio programming nailed down and making sure that that's spot on, because that's kind of the face of the radio system to all the end users. We want to make sure that's absolutely as good as we can make it. So, but Ray, did you have anything about the remaining civil?
Thanks, Jason. Yes, we're wrapping up the final details of the work at these tower sites, and there's really not much left to do. The one thing that's on our list is getting the alarm systems set up and working properly. The new Motorola network has an alarm transport mechanism, we'll call it. So at the tower sites, primarily Coon Rapids and Lanesboro, we're getting it connected to the generators and to the heating and cooling units at those sites, so that that information gets transported to the dispatch center, and they can look and see, for example, if the power goes out and the generator comes on, they'll know that, so that the generator doesn't sit and run for a week and then run out of propane and the site goes down because nobody knew the power was out, as an example. Or if there's if for some reason the heating units or the air conditioning is actually a bigger issue in the summertime. So we're working with a local contractor, as well as the Motorola folks and the electrician, to try and get all that stuff sorted out. And beyond that, there's really not much left to do. So we're coming down the home stretch here. Thank you.
Can you comment on what kind issues we may have after the trees are leaved out?
I don't know which one of us should take that. Are you talking about the coverage once the trees have the leaves and the corn is in the fields?
Correct. I mean, this was an issue earlier, and I'm sure it's probably going to be an issue. What kind of expectations can we have going forward?
Well, the short answer would be we can expect excellent coverage throughout the entire county, regardless of the amount of foliage on the trees or the crops in the fields. As Dave pointed out, the test results, well, let me start. The coverage guarantee was 95% within the county. And we ended up with, I guess you'd say 100%. Dave, does that include those fire districts in that number?
No. With the fire, and we did not redo audio tests in the fire district because they were informational only.
Okay.
It was only within the county that we did the retest.
Okay, so on one of the slides, it showed the number of tiles that were actually tested, and that was 1,937 or whatever it was. The bottom line is the coverage testing came in at 100%. And of course, that was without the foliage. Now, I've spent a fair amount of time in Carroll County, and it's not quite, the level of foliage isn't quite the same as it is in, let's say, northern Minnesota. Frankly, I think the foliage challenge in a rural area like Carroll County is the crops in the field, and I know that has some effect. But I would say if everything was in full bloom, in August, and we were doing this, we might see, I don't know, Dave, maybe 2% reduction. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is, in talking engineering, 2% if we had heavy foliage, including trees, would be typical to see. With crops in the field, we're probably closer to 1%, change from what we currently saw at 100%. So we'd be coming in at, 99, 98 worst case. Agreed.
So even if it was 98%, we're still 3% above the guaranteed level of coverage and what is considered the public safety standard. So certainly no issues from our perspective. Does that answer the question?
Answered it.
Thank you.
Any other questions for these gentlemen? If there is none, thank yous. Great work.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Very well.
Okay, next we have secondary roads. Zach?
Morning. First thing I have on the list is our final payment on our Perrin 166 project, which is the M68 asphalt resurfacing that was done. Everything's been working on putting the closing documents together. The contractors provided all the documentation, all the information they need. Obviously, the road turned out very, very well with that. Obviously, I wasn't here when that was done, but no issues from what anyone tells me on that. What we basically have is the retainage for that project is $30,000 that is being held that we're wanting to pass on and pay them for the final payment. The contractor has signed off on it. I recommended it be signed off on it as well. And now we're basically asking final approval of that from the board.
Do you need the board chair to sign this, or we authorize you to sign?
The board chair needs to sign this one. And they're doing electronic signatures for the contractor and myself, but we can do a wet sign signature for the chair. So I can leave that piece of paper with Courtney for when you stop in, Gene, if that works.
That works. Okay, is there any other questions for Zach on this? If not, we need a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion that we authorize the chair to sign the final payment and authorize that we give the $30,000 in retainage to
Norris Asphalt.
Norris Asphalt.
Thank you. I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary, motion carried. Okay,
Thank you. Second thing I have is the Grand Park Stream Improvement Project. I think I've sent these plans out to you for your review. Also, some of the questions and answers that I had that the engineer provided back on the stabilization and the profile of that channel. I myself don't see any issues with what they're trying to do. I think it will benefit those outfall pipe by getting those kind of fixed and rip-wrapped around. It looks like a good project. I guess I just wanted to touch base to see if there was any questions, for one, and two, if not, and everyone's in agreement, some sort of I'll call it informal approval so they can move forward, since this is a drainage district facility that they're doing this work in.
so Zach, they're just picking certain areas where they're gonna do riprap on this, right?
Correct. They're picking areas that they feel there's stabilization issues and around the outlet pipe that are existing in place right now.
So with doing this project, they're not gonna narrow up any of the stream bed or anything like that.
No, they will actually excavate and lay back the slope a little bit where they're putting some of this riprap. They'll try to make it a little less steep, I guess, is what I'll say. And then they'll also, I'll call it dig in, toe in riprap, so it's not protruding out any further than what the existing banks are, as well as the bottom. It'll be below the natural stream bed channel, was where that will be placed.
So they just need basically an informal approval from us.
Right, they just, I mean, this is being done within a district facility, so obviously there needs to be a sign off there basically saying that, yeah, we're okay with, the county's okay with this project happening within Drainage District 77, their channel.
Okay, any other questions?
I think they did the necessary hydrology studies on
I think so, just from what past precedent has said about how that stream has how it flows and what it's done. I don't think there's with the amount of grade that's on that channel for a open ditch, it actually is quite a bit compared to a lot of them. It hasn't, I don't think it's degraded a lot, and I don't think it's soaked in a lot. So I think it's pretty close to what it was designed at, in my opinion.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve the improvement?
Also move, I guess I would agree with you. I don't think in the area that they're talking about, there's really an issue as far as bank stabilization. I mean, it's just a straight.
Right, there's a couple areas a little bit, but it's really more around the outlet pipe that they're fixing. There's some pipe that have, I'll say, came to the end of their lifespan, and they're putting them back up, tying them back into the bank, and supporting them, and then putting riprap around that, so there's not scour around where those pipe are. That's the majority of it. It does extend a little bit in certain areas where there's more scour or places where it could wash, but overall, it's really more around those outfall pipe is where they're looking.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion carried. Anything else, Zach?
That's all I have this time.
Okay. All right. We will move on to the review and approval of agreement with Calhoun County for housing prisoners.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Did I send a copy of this thing out to anybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did.
Everybody have a chance to look through it?
Yep.
And the county attorney also reviewed it and didn't have any issues with it. Sheriff was just down here today. We're holding a few people for him right now. He was down here picking one up. So,
And out an example too, point A, B, and C. That everything from those prisoners do go back to Calhoun County as far as any medical or transportation, all is on them.
correct. Correct. Really this to put us in a bind any way, shape, or form. We will take them over to the physician across the street or to urgent care if they have to, but if it's something more than that, they'll have to come down to it. And this is supposed to become effective May 1st. They do have the understanding that we're fairly full right now. So we can only take what we can handle right now until the new facility is open. And it can be terminated within 90 days written notice. And that's what Sac County did. They terminated their agreement with them. I don't know why, but they did.
Did you use a template from another?
This was the agreement they had drawn up in Sac County already.
Okay.
They just made changes to it.
Okay.
So yeah, this was the same template that they used forever with Sac. And to me, is this something that needs to be evaluated every year, do you think? Or is it just, would we just consider this a long-standing agreement as long as?
I think it's good that it's got that 1 year in there, because if costs go up or we see that we're, not covering our costs, at least gives us a right to adjust those costs.
And the cost of the going rate, so that can be adjusted.
Yeah, and 10 years from now, sure, we'll a little higher, I would think, but.
I mean, I've seen how many trips they've made down here already, which is a few we're holding for them. I couldn't imagine having to do that. Gene, that has you signed as a chairperson. I don't know if that's something Courtney or Stephanie can sign your proxy, or if you'll just have to stop in and sign it upstairs.
I'll just stop in and sign it.
Okay.
I think I'd prefer that the chair sign.
I'm gonna go ahead and sign off on my part if everybody's in agreement with it. Do we need a motion?
Yes, we will need a motion. Is there any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the agreement with Calhoun County?
I'm going to make that motion to approve the agreement with Calhoun County.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I mean, I think this is a great thing. This is not going to probably make us a lot of money, but at the same time, we're going to offset a lot of our costs that we are incurring. This will offset that quite a bit. And from what Ken told me, a big amount. So this is great. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary, motion carried. Okay, and I will be up to sign that. Next thing we have, Ken, is in regard to the patrol car replacement. You want to bring us up to speed on that, Ken? I kind of talked to everybody else, but I think the purpose of this is probably this wasn't kind of not the way it should have been handled, but I just want to make sure we covered in the minutes. So we're covered with the auditors and stuff and what has happened here. So.
Okay, long story short, February 17th, one of our cars was en route to a call. He was on a gravel road. There's a fairly sharp curve on that road. the roads were snowy, he slid through, went into the ditch, tipped the car over on its left side. The two doors got dinged up a little bit and the front fender, but the worst part, the side airbags went off. Car was towed in. I was in Texas at the time. We got stuck down there during that cold snap. So I wasn't even around here when this happened. They did call me and tell me about it. When I got back, we got a hold of ICAP. They sent an adjuster down. Took him a couple of days, but they eventually totaled the car, which was a, I want to say a 2017 Explorer. So once that was totaled, I probably should have called you at least, Gene, or met with the board, but I just called Dodge and the Ford dealerships here in town, said what happened. Is there any way we can find a police package that meets our specs? And the Dodge dealer took a couple of days, said, no, we can't find one anywhere. And the Ford dealer just laughed at us and said, you're not going to find a police package anywhere right now. So then I took it upon myself on March 8th to call Stivers Ford in Des Moines, which has the state Ford bid, and Stu Hansen, which has the state Dodge bid. And it just so happened, Stu Hansen said they had two Durangos coming in March. One was black, one was white. I asked him to send me the specs on the white one. They met our specs. V8, police package. He came with the console already built in and a spotlight on it. So I said, we'll take it. Only reason I did that, I didn't want to wait. I didn't want to miss a chance. I didn't want to sit here for 6 or 7 months waiting for a new one to show up. So that's it in a nutshell.
Okay. And just to let everyone know, I did have a discussion with John Warden, the county attorney, and he said that he was fine with this being Ken had seeked out a state bid. Probably should have been handled a little differently, but he felt we were okay this way, just to make notes of it in the minutes and stuff like that. Okay, any other questions?
But the insurance didn't cover the total amount of the replacement.
It's not full replacement insurance. The insurance check was for $14,000 even for the vehicle, and then they are keeping a running total because they'll pay us for the tear out of the old equipment, the installation of the new equipment. There was a bumper that was involved, so they're going to end up cutting us another check when the vehicle, it's out at Reesburg right now. We talked them into doing this one, and they took all the equipment out of the other one. Knock on wood, none of the equipment was hurt at all. I mean, didn't face it a bit. So they headed out there. They agreed to do the install on this one. So we will be getting another check for how much, I don't know.
So from Stu Hansen, did we have to compensate them anymore for that replacement of that vehicle?
When we went down and picked it up, we took a check for what was it, $15,900, Courtney?
I don't remember the exact amount.
Something like that.
Yeah.
For
It was 15,000 for sure. I'm not sure.
here. Oh, I don't have my pocket.
Well, it's a little bit disturbing to me that I don't know how, when anybody else heard about this, I didn't hear about it until a week ago today. And that was February 17th when this happened. So it's been well over a month. And we have, I mean, just to make us aware of what's going on, I guess would have been better than, just nothing.
I agree.
And
I agree. Gene and I talked about that and got busy.
And I hope we don't get into a culture where we're
Check the euro 15.9.
Okay.
a culture where it's better to ask forgiveness as opposed to ask approval. And I think everything from this board gets approved down to a paperclip. you know, at some point in time. And when we expect to write a check, have the auditor write a check $15,000, I think that's something that needs to be approved. And maybe that's just me thinking that way, but that's how we have, there's obviously time when you could have contacted the board on this.
Well, like I said, when I found out they had one, I jumped all over it.
Well, I guess I'm okay with that, but
I should,
this
next time I'll send an email out. Or
yeah,
something.
the disbursement of funds, I guess, is concerning. Obviously, it would have been nice to, I hope we don't think that we don't have to get bids anymore, because Zach's very good at getting us bids for equipment and stuff like that. So I guess just a little bit more transparency going forward if anything like that would happen again.
And Dean, Ken and I had that discussion after I had my discussion with John. You know, it was a bad situation. It's done, it's over with. Now's the time to clean it up and move forward. And that's the reason this discussion is going on today. So it's noted in the public record. So we keep that transparency. It was, I'm hoping this was an isolated situation, and I think it will be. So I think that takes care of the situation.
And just to clarify, the check was for $19,900.
Okay.
That's what they said downstairs.
The only thing I want to add to this is, if you look at the state code does require, allow for emergency purchases. It's clearly defined, if it's health, welfare, or safety of employees, or in safety of the constituents. It's clearly okay to go ahead and spend the money within that parameter. It's debatable whether that you think that that's a safety issue. I know that we have contracts with communities, that we need vehicles, we need people, we need personnel, we need things to keep moving. We have obligations. I guess I don't have a big problem with this. It's not much different than a copier quitting in Courtney's office and she needs one tomorrow. She has it in her budget, she spends the money, and I'm not gonna micromanage. I don't know what exactly goes on in everybody's office. I don't want to get in that position either. That's my only takeaway on this. These people are elected. If they don't like what's going on, I guess every 4 years they got to swing at them. But I do appreciate that he did buy a state bid vehicle. I'm glad he did his homework on that part.
Just a reminder, this happened February 17th. So it's not like, and you cut the check last Monday?
I believe so.
Yeah.
One of the things that I had a discussion with Ken, if we have a car that we're trading off and we can't get a decent, what we feel is a good price for it, and it's fairly decent shape, that we keep one of them back for a spare so we don't run into this situation again. I mean, I know that's going to create some problems if somebody's going to have to go out and drive it every once in a while so it stays fresh and mobile and stuff like that. But that might be one way to alleviate such a situation. And again, this is probably an isolated situation. Hopefully we don't have that situation again. But as what these people are involved in, I can see where we could have another car get totaled out and hopefully nobody gets hurt. But I mean, we're in some situations where this can happen. So I think this might not be a bad idea, is that we keep one back for a spare.
Assuming the deputy was not hurt?
No.
Not hurt.
I
Well,
can agree with.
that's a good part.
With Dean's comment about just communication from every department head. The expectation obviously has to be there for communication, and, you know, Dean touched base on it moving forward. We'll just try to be better communication. As far as emergencies, you can't control that. I mean, it's life, you're gonna have to purchase Rich just said, you know, we can do things within parameters as far as the code. So I think going forward, we just work on communication and hope this doesn't happen again. And thank goodness nothing happened to the deputy.
Well, and on that note, we've talked about it at many of our jail meetings that we have monthly, but I've talked about getting the kitchen equipment with our current jail budget, if there was money in there. Is that something that needs to come in front of the board at a supervisor's meeting?
Well, all change orders have to be approved.
Well, I think that, you know, again, you're right, Ken, we talked about that multiple times, so that's what we was gonna do. I think once you get that final figure done, I know you're working on that. You probably should get it presented to the board, and then we can approve it.
So I'm working on a budget amendment right now, and he was gonna increase his jail revenue, 20,000 or
Yeah,
something.
that's what we've taken in so far from.
So, yeah, and then, and also on the backside of that is increase, like the food services line, the same amount. That would also cover.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly acceptable. I mean, you know, especially when you got revenue that's offsetting expense.
I think we had about 6 or 7 different bids, maybe more than that. And so, and I'm not gonna mention any of the people's names or businesses, but the one business that come in the lowest, Dries had a real problem working with them. I think I told you guys that at the last jail meeting. Matter of fact, they said it was the worst project they'd ever worked on. It was a nightmare. So the next best bid was Hockenberg out of Des Moines, and Dries was very happy working with them. They've done a lot of projects. But if you want me to get on the agenda for next Monday and present that.
Why don't you, Ken? Just let's formally present that next Monday. And, okay?
Anything else for me?
No, do we need to? Courtney, do you think we need to do anything more with this, or this will be approved when we do the claims, right? On his car?
That check will not show up on claims. It's already been done.
Okay, so let's have a motion to approve this then, that we acknowledge this and in the minutes and stuff. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Okay.
Get some clarification on what the actual motion is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Are you just acknowledging that the sheriff purchased a 21?
Yes, yes. Acknowledge that we purchased a car to replace the one that was totaled out. Okay. Okay. Anything else for Ken? Thank you, Ken.
We'll get that on the agenda for next week.
Sounds good.
All right. Okay, next we have is approval of plats.
About that. I'm gonna leave this with Courtney,
Oh, for the
the
same.
agreement.
Okay. Yeah.
And then she can take the copies necessary and I'll get, they wanted the original back up there.
All right. Okay, we have two plats here. I think there's one for Richard Pudens. Do we want to do these individually, Courtney, or?
You can do it together.
Okay, so there's one, but that's just an addition of some property to the west of L's Corner that's getting deeded over to L's Corner. And then we have one where for Ronnie Clucky in regard to an acreage. And then there's also some property right to the north of it that is with, can't see the name of the other person now.
There's a vent thing.
Yeah, it's, proprietor is Ronald and Donna Ventiger, and Clarence and Donna M. Matthews.
There you go. I couldn't find that last name. So the one is an acreage, the other's a splitting off. It looks like it's following a line on a creek or something like that. So is there any questions on those plats?
I think they're pretty straightforward. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the plats.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and second to approve the plats. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Okay, next we have is discuss the lower level, the Fricky building. We have someone that has contacted me, and I turned them back over to Len's Realty because Len still hasn't listed yet. And they are interested in renting that space down there. Kerry Miller showed them that space. They came back. And first of all, I should probably tell you, it's Luann Mallory's group that's looking at this. And I can't remember what the name of their agency is now. It's, you know what it is, Courtney?
Oh, I can't remember.
Well, it's saying it's Family Resources, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
No. It's not Family. She's not with Family Resource anymore. It's
Caring Hands.
there. I think that's it. I think. So they have come back and they have, Kerry got back to me, and we were originally asking $1,495 for that square footage. And that includes utilities, that'd be water and sewer. And I think, does that include electrical too, right, Courtney?
yes.
Yeah. And they've come back and they, with a counter offer of $1,000 per month with a 2-year lease. And I was not going to go anywhere with that until I talked to the rest of you. And that's why we're having a discussion right now.
So is that for the whole of the base?
No, that would be the area that would be west of where the Veterans Affair and is at. It's that area west of there. It's not where the Veterans Affair and Homemade Cares is. That's separated by a wall. I forget what suite we call that, but
There's Suite A and Suite B. Suite
Yeah.
B is the vacant area, which Plains had.
So do they want 100% of Suite B then?
yeah, that's my understanding.
Mine too.
Okay.
Is that Suite A, Courtney?
That's B. So
B? Okay,
home care aides and the VA are A, and we call the
All
other
right.
part. And I think they want this whole space because there's a small bathroom and a little tiny break room that's on one end, and then the offices are the other, so
Correct.
you kind of want the whole space.
yeah, this does not include the big conference room that is backed by VA and that.
No,
Now, we've been trying to rent this for several years. But I kind of question if that's lowering it too much with them having utilities also. So, but it's up, I'm bringing it up to you guys to have your input. What your thoughts are on it.
I think the 2-year lease thing is attractive versus a 6-month. I mean, if we know it's going to be occupied for a full 2 years versus.
I agree with you.
and $1,000 would well cover utilities.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with it because it's been vacant forever.
Any other comments?
Well, I think there's something in the, coming up in the future maybe that the county may be interested in that space. I just ask that we table it for a week. That's my only concern.
Now, there is additional vacant space where the VA and home care aides are. There's the offices that were used by mental health, on the north side. I think there's 2 small offices plus the office that our general assistance person had. I don't know if people have moved around there,
Yeah, I think,
but there are some offices that
I
could be utilized for another department.
think the Veterans Affairs moved over to the one that faces the parking lot
With the window and
with the
stuff.
window, and the corner one is being used by the mental health when they're here
Okay,
1 or 2 days a week, whatever, and it's their client meeting, where the old Veterans Affairs and that piece, that's
open,
open.
which would be, a department that needed like a lot of public access because there's like a reception area.
Right, and that conference room back there, but I do know that, I think,
Board of Health.
they use that, and then also, I think, your home health, your gal, she has meetings with her people in there, which is great, that's what it's for.
So, I mean, there is some space available in A.
If you think there's a necessity to sit on it a week, well, I think we'll just table it a week. I would vote for that.
Yeah, I think, especially if we're not getting the full price for it.
You think you'll know something in a week if somebody's interested?
Well, and I think I know that they are, they're, have to vacate the location where they're at. So I know they're kind of under a gun here, but if you just want to wait a week, that's fine with me. But I think there is more room back there to the, where, home care aides are at, and I'm not so sure we couldn't make that utilized also with, that space. How much space are you talking, Dean?
Well, I don't know. It'd be good to go over. I think I'm gonna go over right after the meeting and take a look at it.
Get it fresh in your mind.
Yeah.
I
Get an idea.
I've been in there, but it's been months.
So, I don't know how much we'll need, so.
I know what you're referring to as far as needing space. So we were asking 1,400 is what we wanted. They're offering
14.95.
Yeah,
1,000,
15, they're
It's
off.
about $500.
They're 30% under.
but with a 2-year lease, which is the attractive part of it, that we would have it tied down for 2 years.
Well, let's table it till next week and
So do you know, Gene, if they're gonna use the existing, parking lot entrance, or are they interested in using the other entrance from the street?
Well, that I couldn't tell you, Dean. They could utilize it from both areas, because that suite is accessible from the front and the basement.
We're not gonna allow that because DHS has files at the
Oh.
bottom of those stairs, and they did not want people.
Right.
Oh, they do. I did not know that. Okay.
And you can talk with Mary Jo over there at DHS again, but I know there was issues with that at one time because they have
Steve,
some
you go over
records
there,
down
would you
there.
Cross that bridge.
What's that?
Would you cross that bridge if you go over there and talk to Mary about
Yeah, Joe.
those miles down there?
Yeah, I guess,
Just see
I
what
thought
that's
that was
all
a
about.
concern of
Yep,
theirs.
yep.
I mean, there might be
Yeah.
a legitimate reason. I don't.
Yeah, you would think there'd be enough space upstairs for those files, but.
I don't.
Yeah. I would think that.
And I might be wrong. Been wrong before.
Well, are those files back behind that storage area down there?
I think they're at the bottom of the steps behind the steps, and there's like a closet or something.
Well, I think there's a wall on the west side of that suite B yet. There's a long closet back in there. I'm not so sure that is an area that, and there should be a door under. They can lock that, I would think.
I don't remember. It's like I said, it's been vacant for over 4 years.
Another good reason to table of the week, because I think there's a lot of,
There's some gray
what that
areas.
really looks like, in everybody's mind either.
Well, I mean, if Caring Hands can use part of it, and if the county decides that they want to use the rest of it, it's fully occupied. You know, everybody's using everything.
That's right.
So that'd be a good thing.
Let's see, it's too small where Veterans Affairs used to be. There's a
All right.
couple that's big enough for these people, I think that would be great too.
Okay, well, it is, I take it as the consensus of everyone, we table this for a week, so,
Yeah, we need to find some more info out.
okay. Let's keep everybody abreast on this then, so, all right. Next we have is a proxy for Iowa Individual Health Benefit Reassurance. This is just to a proxy for the election. So all we need here is a motion to authorize the chair to sign this proxy to have someone vote for us.
Joseph Day? Is that the person? Joseph Day?
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, motion carried. Next is we need to discuss the courthouse structural architect. If we're going to be doing some changes down in that lower basement, I think we need to figure out what walls are able to be moved or what can be done or can't not be done or can be done. So I think we need to look at getting a structural engineer to look at this. And I think what we need to do is get an RFP put out to outfits and see who comes with the price on or what their proposals are. Any discussion on that?
Are we gonna be able to define what the scope of work is?
I think it's going to have to be kind of broad. It's to look at what walls. I don't think we wanted to do any design at this point, but I think what we want to do is just look at what walls are able to be moved or what can be, what can be changed down there. I'm sure there's some of them are load bearing walls, and that's what we need to find out.
I think it'd be nice to have somebody that would analyze the offices that are here and how much space they require versus the space we have available. 'Cause
Well, that could be added onto it too.
then, you might say, well, you can move this department here. Well, is that enough space for that department? Not gonna meet their needs. We've already had a temporary move and to get some space down here. She lost her office.
Yeah, and I think hopefully that's temporary, but I don't know where the permanent solution is yet either. He's gonna be able to put that in writing for submitted bid.
Well,
That's and that's what I don't know if you want a structural, I mean, you're gonna have to have a structural person look at it to see what's possible. But I think that person will probably wind up getting hired by the person we're looking for. And I don't know, because what Courtney's kind of talking about fits into an efficiency aspect. What makes the office run efficiently? What space do they need? What do they do? Those are the kind of things they look into. But when you get into what color carpet you're going to put down, they're lost. So it's kind of.
So what happened after a meeting this month, my coordinator? You were gonna be the funnel where everybody was gonna give you ideas of their office needs or plans. You got zero response?
Nothing.
And I don't know. I don't know if people just kind of.
Not a priority.
Well, I think they still have their priorities.
Yeah,
You know,
and everybody's gonna fight for their own space. I can't blame them.
But
We're looking more for a consultant than an architect.
I believe
Well-
there's enough space here for everybody. It's just a matter of,
Getting your ratings right.
yeah.
well, I think you need an architect because, they're going to just to have somebody come in and do a structural analysis of it, you may not get anybody to respond to that. They probably want a bigger project than that. And
Yeah.
so if you can combine, some of those, an architect can come in and they can do efficiency studies, and
This is a.
they can give you a pretty good recommendation. This is, if you want to do plan A or plan B, they can give us options on how to, what that really does is it takes it off our back to determine, ours in the end is probably gonna be the final say, but.
But what we think works and what does work can be two different things.
Exactly. I mean, it would make a lot of sense to,
Yeah, it'll be up to us to make the final determination. But, and I agree probably, and when I meant a structural, I think the reason we need a structural engineer in is that we're gonna have to determine what we can do and what we can't do down there as far as walls and stuff. And the other thing is we gotta remember, we gotta try to stay away from avoiding to disturb the ceilings as much as possible.
Well, yeah, and he'll figure that out as soon as he steps in the building.
Yeah, and I agree, we probably should hire a firm that can do us analysis on space needs. It's probably, that's what we need, is probably someone to do a space needs analysis and structural engineer.
Underneath an architect wing too. I mean, he has the capability. Those bigger firms, they have all kinds of people running all over the place.
yeah.
So is everybody in agreement we should send out an RFP?
Yeah, Gene, and that kind of does feed into what you and I discussed about. I mean, we know that there's a certain amount of money that's gonna be floating around, possible coming in the future. And we know it has its parameters and it's the things you cannot do with it. But I've not seen a real good list of things you can do. But you and I were discussing we have a heating and cooling system that's well served its life and then some. And we've also learned coming through the last pandemic that airflow and air exchange is a lot bigger item than has been kind of getting pushed to the back over the last 20 years of construction in most buildings. So this may give us a little monies or an opportunity to bring this building a little closer to date with those issues. So
Yeah, and I agree with you, Rich. I think, but we do not know at this point where that's going to shake out at. I have had numerous conversations with Jamie Cashman in regard to this money that's coming down from the feds, and we still haven't gotten total direction from the Treasury on how they're going to do that. But Jamie is kind of the opinion that if it's got anything to do with COVID, if you can tie it to COVID, that you'll be able to utilize that money. And what Rich is alluding to there, maybe we can do that with air exchange on our heating system and stuff like that. And we all know that that thing has been there and it's performed and it still does, but there's going to be a day when we're going to have to face some sort of a urgency on the bandwagon here if we don't do anything.
I know that works in this building would appreciate a better heating system.
you like your office at 72 and the neighbor, would like their office at 70, it's hard to keep those two that way.
And with the construction that's going on and, granted they were doing concrete work and stuff like that, but air quality was an issue. I mean, I would come to work and my throat hurt by the end of the day. Granted, we're doing construction, but yeah, I think air quality is probably a little bit of an issue. You can make it better, I'm sure people would appreciate it, for sure.
Well, and you have basically two transitions from hot and cold every year.
We do, and I don't know if anybody's been in the auditor's office in the winter, but we're above the boiler and it can get hot.
You could wear shorts in there most of the winter.
I mean, your wife would agree with
Yeah,
that.
she
It
agreed.
is hotter than heck.
I've heard it before.
Yeah, it's warm. But,
It was a great 1960.
like you said, it served its purpose for sure, and it's only a matter of time before it quits working. And then I think it'd be good to plan ahead for sure.
But this is also another argument for an architect, I believe, and I think Dean's right, that this falls underneath their architectural wing, especially a larger firm, because they have heating, cooling, they have electrical, they have access to so many things, including structural engineers, the do's, the don'ts. I think that's the path that we probably should bring.
Well, and I think we may have some of that work done already. We had several years back, there was an outfit in here, did a survey, and I don't know if we still have that information over there, Courtney, do you? No?
I don't know that there was ever a study done since I've been on the board. So
Well, I
that
think this is before you were on, Dean, because they were talking about running heat and cooling through a PEX pipe so that we wouldn't have to disturb the asbestos in the building. I know there was some study work done. It's been a while back.
Not an auditor at that time. I can do some digging and see what I can find. I'm sure it's up there somewhere.
Yeah.
That market changed so quickly.
I mean, no, that's worth it.
Well, and I know
Yeah,
that
that's probably not
time they talked something about ground
relevant
source
today.
and ripping up the parking lot and putting ground source and
So anyway,
whatever I remember.
I think we should send out an RFP for an architect more than I do a structural engineer, Gene. That's where I think I'm headed.
So can Gene, can you and Courtney work on developing an RFP? Is that something that you two can?
I think between us, we can get something done. And maybe what we'll do is maybe have Zach kind of look at it, being he's an engineer. I still think you're going to have someone look at that. Whether that architect has someone come in and do structural analysis, I think that's still going to have to be done to know what walls can be taken out. So if we have to move any walls.
Would Marshalltown have gotten one when they had get beat up by the tornado?
I'm not sure.
Just reach out on your auditor board. Maybe they can enlighten you a little bit.
Yeah, they have like it goes out.
I'm sure we can find a template for something like that.
Well, I'll start with sending an email out to the auditor's affiliate and asking if another county has an RFP that they've used. When looking at the space needs in the courthouse and possible remodeling or something, and see what I can.
Okay, good enough. We'll do it that way then.
And then I'll show you guys what I get and we can go from there.
Okay.
So we won't do any action on this till we get something formally put together then. Okay?
I agree.
Is that agreeable with everybody?
Good.
Okay, if that's agreeable, we'll go on to manure management annual updates. We have Nice Finisher Farm, Section 5, Nice Township. There's change of crop rotation and manure analysis. Betty Finisher Farm is crop rotation and manure analysis. Lane Bachman is manure management or manure analysis. Brook Feedlot, Section 35, Nice Township, no changes. PI 364 Finisher, Section 7 of Wheatland, a 4-year update. And Mark Heidiff, number 3, Section 24, Roselle Township, crop rotation and manure analysis. Courtney, is there a reason two of these do not have the township and stuff on them?
Yeah, because I don't have a clue where they're at. So
Okay.
the DNR sends me these electronic.
All right. I think I got an idea where one of them is at, but
And
that's
I
if that's the answer, I'm satisfied with that. So
if somebody wants to know where they're at, I can probably call down to Atlanta and find out exactly where they're at.
Yeah, I don't think they're in Carroll County. Is that kind of what you're thinking, Gene?
no, I think that one Brook one might be, or the Betty Finisher, I think maybe, but I might be wrong on that. Okay. All right, committee reports.
I can go first. Last week I had absolutely nothing. And this week, Thursday night, I think Stephanie and I have a 6 o'clock Zoom for Region 12. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
I can go next. Last week I had no official meetings. We did have some emails going around with the Carroll area daycare. There's a situation that has arisen, and we have sent out letters to the parents with regards to the KC building where they have summer programs for the older children. I'm yet to hear back from Nikki I'm sure we'll hear something today if any parents have responded, and we can talk a little bit one-on-one about what's going on. Then I did receive a couple phone calls with the Willie Denim Blacktop. Mr. Werzer over just south of Willie removed a large hill, but took some private dirt from one property and brought it to the next. He actually did a good service for the county and it removed one snow trap that was on the Willie Blacktop. And then I also talked with Zach again on, I had received a complaint in Mount Carroll on the curb line. We're trying to look and see what we can do about that area. This week, I will be in Mason City Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for Leadership Iowa. And I did make aware we are supposed to have a Region 12 Policy Council meeting. I will not be there physically. I'm going to try and zoom in, but I did let Eric Scoot know, and then Scott and Rich know that I will not be
We
there.
can go in person, can we?
Yeah.
Or not?
You can go in person.
Oh, I didn't see that option.
Yep.
Perfect, thank you. I'll go in person.
And that's what I have for this week.
Okay. Thank you. I can go next. On Tuesday, the 23rd, I did meet with the DOT and Lisa Wagner in regard to CDLs, trying to find a location to do those test drives. We wound up leaving that meeting. The DOT was going to do some checking on some more on the requirements on that. I have not heard any more back off that meeting. We do have, I have a couple sites that I'm thinking about, but I don't want to report those at this time because some of those are privately held, and I don't want to, till we get to that point, I'll disclose them at that time for purpose. I don't want to get us in a cost issue. On Tuesday then night was the policy council meeting. We went through all the programming and stuff, and they had no health and safety classroom issues. We went through the financials. They are finishing up the years on some of them, so they are in very good position there. We went through IM and PI alerts. There's one in regard to changing where the center base has to be so many hours of 1,020 hours of time, or 6.5 hours per day. And we've got the early Head Start center base Carroll thing is up and running. They are still enrolling people out there. They start out slow to make sure they can get all the bugs worked out. Perry is getting close to startup. They are wrapping up the final details on the construction on that. The early Head Start and the Head Start parent evaluation has been sent out. They're in the process and are coming back. And we talked about the COLA quality funding application, which is 1.22%, and for both Head Start and early Head Start. And then we talked about the coaching teaching staff policy, and I think that was about it. Then on Wednesday, I attended the ISAC general session and scholarships, where the scholarships were awarded out. And then on Thursday, on the 25th, I had the New Opportunities annual meeting. We went through the audit with our auditor, Dave Gettner, and also accepted the audit. It was a clean audit. We approved the direct cost of 16.9% for fiscal year 20. And we approved the annual report and had the election of officers. The officers stayed the same as what they were. And then we went through all our approval of our policies and any updates that were done on that, and signed off on our code of ethics and nepotism policy and conflict of interest. Then last week I attended several webinars and stuff like that. I had made this last week a lot of calls to our representative and Senator Best and Williams, and also Jamie Cashman in regard to Senate File 587. It's a tax bill. Basically, they're trying to eliminate the commercial backfill, and they're also switching from mental health back to the state is what they're trying. And I brought the point to them that, you know, this has been going on for years. Mental health needs a steady stream of funding. Would I like to get rid of mental health as far on the county level? I probably would, as far as funding. But I think if that goes to state, the state has historically, when they get short of money, they start cutting programs, and that is something that mental health does not need. So I had a lot of discussions on that. I did call Zach in regard to, I got a call from Brian Johnson in regard to a drain way over in the northeast part of the county. And that was last week. This week I have CADC meeting on Tuesday, and that's basically it. Okay, who's next?
All right, I'll go ahead and give it a spin. The 24th, I have Rolling Hills meeting. The topic of conversation basically was around Senate File 587 that Gene just alluded to. A lot of discussion over it. I'm still kind of stuck in the middle on that one a little bit. I do agree with Gene that a steady revenue source is a lot easier to deal with than one that fluctuates. Once you get built people and things in place, it's a lot easier for it's steady income. The another topic that day was on the 25th, they officially started advertising for a new advocate, primarily because of Pocahontas and Humboldt County coming into the region, and the workload that the advocates have right now are kind of tilted to a couple of the advocates. So there's going to be some rearrangement maybe made there a little bit, but you got to be a little careful because once the clients get used to the advocate, it's better if you can leave them with them as long as possible. It just seems that if they're going to go smoothly for them. That was on Tuesday, or I'm sorry, on a Wednesday. Then Thursday, I spent phone calls with Gene and both representatives talking about this very subject. Then on the first, I did stop by the vaccination, the large vaccination that we had last Thursday, and I got to compliment the people. It looked like it was extremely well run. They had lots of volunteers, and I think the county should be very grateful to those people for their volunteerism and making that work as well as it did. And the Board of Health deserves a big kudos for that one. And then on Friday, I attended via Zoom the WIOA local workforce development leadership. That has been meeting about every 2 weeks now. We're kind of getting some things ironed out. What they're doing now is they're picking particular subjects. They're working on memorandum of understandings and the federal law that surrounds them. And it's for employment and training. And as we do block grants, those are going to probably be very instrumental in having your memorandum of understandings done as you enter into those block grants to make you eligible. So those were the things that they're concentrating on now. This upcoming week is at CADC, that noon tomorrow, Gene, I believe.
Yes, yes.
I am gonna go down and try to attend into the vaccine in Coon on Wednesday. Region 12 on Thursday. I have multiple meetings at Region 12. They're starting earlier today. That is it for me this week.
Okay, I'll bring up the end here. Last 2 weeks I had basically no official business, but it seemed like daily with the vaccine thing and the Board of Health and Public Health, a lot of communication back and forth on that. This week I've got, and yeah, I think the vaccine clinic went very well. You know, I do wonder if more people are actually vaccinated than we actually think, and I'm not sure what's going to go forward as far as more vaccine coming to the county. I guess we'll just have to see. But they did a very good job. It's very efficient. I was traffic control cop, or if you want to call it whatever. Quite a few people coming in, a lot of people in back and forth. I mean, it was just steady. You know, everybody has an appointment, so it's just pretty steady the whole time, and a lot of elderly people yet, a lot of people in wheelchairs. You know, that this was a very good location, that, you know, it was easily accessible to get in and out, so it worked out very well. Compliments that I had from people that had got vaccinated, how efficient it was. Geez, I was only in there 10 minutes, you know, and so it was run very well. So kudos to the public health for doing a good job there. This week I've got a North Raccoon Water Management Authority meeting on Friday. They always have theirs on Friday. And then that's it for this week. So.
Okay. One thing I'm going to bring up also, I brought up that Senate file. Just for your information, what that amounts to, in Carroll County, that backfill amounts to $224,000. In Carroll amounts to $209,000. Breda is $6,900. Coon Rapids is $20,231. Arcadia is $9,400. Dedham's $1,800. Glidden $9,600. Halber $1,500. Lanesboro $1,200. Litterdale $6,200. Manning $25,000. Ralston $10,000. Templeton $27,344, and Woolley $309. So you can see that they eliminate this backfill over the next couple of years. That's going to be change a lot of budgets in Carroll County. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. The other thing I did neglect to say, I did also talk to Bess in regard to the bill, in regard to where they're raising the tax credits for first responders and firemen and volunteer firemen and people that volunteer from $100 to $200. Seems like that thing is stalled out, and I was just following up on that with him also at the same time. So, because I think we need that so we keep getting first responders and EMTs and stuff to volunteer. So, Courtney, do you have anything?
No.
What bill was that? What number?
Senate Bill 597, is that right? It's at mental health, and it's got backfill attached to it.
Oh, one of those bills.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Senate Bill
587.
587?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
It's a big, massive tax bill. There's a lot of things in it, but these are two main things that are in there that they're trying to change.
Of course, it starts off with mental health, and that's all I was reading, and I got to the bottom of it.
So
Attach this, attach that.
next week, Bill Day, Courtney?
Yeah, we have Bill Day. We'll need to discuss the mask resolution. That's set to expire. Zach told me he'll have his DOT 5-year plan. And we heard from the sheriff, he'll have his quarterly report. He'll talk about the kitchen project in the jail. And then we'll talk about the Bricky building.
Okay. Any comments from those in attendance or on online?
Dalton, did anybody online?
No, I think we're good there, guys.
Okay. All right, if not, I'll do the radio and newspaper. We're in order for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Contrary, motion carried.